Hello, I am ShwetaSaitya, student of batch 2020 to 22 at IIM Trichy, and today I'm going to be talking about unemployment in young India. The median age of the population in 2020 was 28.4. That is, this median age divides the population in two equal halves. While this created an image of a younger population and a productive workforce, what this young population expecting is access to quality education and better job opportunities. In 2016, youth study when they were asked about the biggest problem in India, 19% of the youth identified lack of quality education and unemployment as the topmost concern. 3 years after this, an even higher proportion, that is 25% of young Indians reported jobs as the most important issue while voting in Lok Sabha elections. Let's compare this proportion in the central, northern and southern parts of the country. This proportion was higher in the central, which is 29%, northern 34%, mostly comprising Hindi-speaking states, than south, that is 16%. The states of Delhi, Telangana, Haryana, and Punjab stood out with 35 to 50% of the proportion. Urban youth is more worried about their jobs than rural ones. That is, 55% of total urban youth and 46% of total rural youth are worried about their jobs. And 43% of young women and 53% of young men, despite the fact that working force of women is lesser than men. This data is from Youth Study 2016 conducted by Lokniti CSDS, which also found almost 9 in 10, which is 85% of youth worried about their jobs. And then the NES pre-poll 2019 was conducted by Lokniti CSDS in 2019 among 10,010 people above 18 and people of age group 18 to 34 were analyzed for the comparison. Now, logically analyzing the statement of Dr. Manmohan Singh, unemployment high in India due to ill-considered demonetization decision. Even before COVID-19 pandemic, GDP growth rate has been seen declining, and after the decision of demonetization, GDP was expected to decline further, increasing unemployment, but it was seen increasing in the next 3 quarters. Now you see, who was the most affected from demonetization and GST? Obviously the informal sector and the people employed in this sector. And 81% of employed people in India are contributed by informal sector only. This is confirmed by International Labour Organization. Cash crunch due to demonetization affected more than this 80% of population, as there is no cash in the system. They won't be able to buy raw materials and pay wages, and this way supply of goods, services reduced, but the demand more or less remained the same. And so to match the demand, the formal sector benefited. Now, once the GDP has increased, the demand started to decrease, and the benefits formal sector was getting also started to decrease, as the income of small business decreased sharply. Even after 3 years of demonetization, consumer spending started falling, and this was for the first time in 4 decades and decreased by 3.7%. Usually, it was seen rising, though at slow pace, but never declined according to survey by National Statistical Office. Also, rural wage growth, corporate wage growth, and real per capita, everything was seen decreasing. This led to cut in production by formal sector economy, especially the lower price goods. Now, just before COVID crisis at the end of 2019 to 20 financial year, India had around 403.5 million employed people and around 35 million openly employed unemployed people in the country, according to CMI data. To this existing pool, each year India adds roughly 10 million new job seekers. But over the past year, several people have lost their jobs. As a result, as of January 2021, India had only about 400 million employed. The 400 million number also underscored the stagnancy in India's employment levels. As per the CMI data, being compiled since 2016, the total number of employed people in India has been steadily coming down. It was 405.9 million in 2017 to 18 and to 400.9 million at the end of 2018 to 19. That is why the total number of openly unemployed people became 35 million. But the problem of unemployment is even bigger. Given India's population growth, Every year, 20 million people enter the working age population of 15 to 59 years. But not every one of these seeks a job. If more and more of India's youth decides to sit out, India's labor force participation rate falls. And the data suggests that this has been happening in India. India had an LFPR of just about 40%. In the most developed countries, it is around 60%. Typically, fast economic growth takes care of unemployment worries. However, in India's case, one cannot assume that just fast economic growth will automatically resolve India's unemployment problem. That's because even when India's GDP has grown rapidly in the past, the nature of this growth has been such that it produced a very small number of well paying jobs. Thank you.